you could just walk in here and lie to me? Say it again.
Please, you're hurting.
Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Let go of her right now.
Stay out of...
I said let go.
Oh my God.
Don't touch me again.
Wait, what did you just say? Every head turned as the black cleaning lady stood frozen in the aisle, trembling. Her voice cracked, echoing through the quiet cabin. Sir, that boy lived with me in the orphanage. The air went still. Passengers stared. Even the engines seemed to hush. The woman's calm eyes burned with something more profound than shock, truth. And when the announcement came, her father owns the airline, every mocking smile on that flight vanished. Because the woman they had overlooked had just uncovered a secret powerful enough to upend them all. Welcome, story lovers. Where are you watching from? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. It was a bright afternoon aboard the first-class cabin of a luxury international flight, one of those moments where time seemed to slow under the hum of engines and polite conversation. Passengers in tailored suits and designer dresses reclined in comfort, glasses clinking softly as attendants moved with choreographed precision. To most, it was just another flight. To Clara Jenkins, it was another shift, another day of silent labor that kept the world comfortable for those who barely noticed her. Clara was in her late 40s, a quiet black woman whose every movement spoke of discipline and dignity. Her uniform was spotless, her posture straight, her words few. Years ago, she had worked as a caregiver at a small orphanage on the edge of Atlanta, where dreams were born only to be forgotten. Those memories stayed tucked deep inside her until today. In seat 2A sat Evelyn Hart, a young woman with flawless skin, designer sunglasses, and an air of entitlement that filled every corner she occupied. She glanced briefly at Clara when handing over her empty cup, then whispered something to her friend about how they never smile. Her tone carried that practiced condescension, the kind that could wound without raising a voice. Clara had heard it all before. She had learned to let it pass, to breathe through the quiet insults, to exist unseen. But something about Evelyn's face, something faintly familiar, caught her off guard. Her pulse quickened. She couldn't quite place it, but beneath the layers of luxury and arrogance, she saw a shadow of someone she once knew. As the captain's voice announced turbulence ahead, Clara steadied herself, eyes lingering on the young woman's face. Memories stirred. Names, laughter, a tiny hand clutching hers in the orphanage courtyard. It couldn't be. Not after all these years. Yet deep inside, a truth began to whisper, one that would soon shatter every illusion on that flight. The turbulence passed, but Clara's heart did not steady. Every time she walked down the aisle, she found her gaze drawn back to seat 2A. Evelyn Hart sat there, legs crossed, scrolling on her phone, her designer bag resting on the seat beside her as if even the air around it was too precious for anyone else to touch. To the rest of the cabin, Evelyn was perfection, graceful, confident, the daughter of wealth. To Clara, there was something else, a haunting familiarity that made her chest tighten. The tilt of her head, the way her eyebrows arched when she was impatient. It was impossible to ignore. Memories flooded in, an old orphanage, laughter echoing through peeling hallways, a young girl crying because no one came to visit her on birthdays. Clara had wiped those tears, had promised that little girl she mattered, but that was 20 years ago. And the child's name, wasn't it Evelyn too? Clara shook her head, dismissing the thought. People changed, lives diverged, and yet when Evelyn's voice rose, sharp, dismissive, Clara's breath caught. "Can you clean this properly next time?" Evelyn said to the flight attendant beside her, pointing at a faint watermark on her glass. "Some of us actually expect standards." Clara froze. The younger attendant looked embarrassed, murmuring an apology, but Evelyn was already waving her off, turning to her phone again. Her friend giggled quietly. The moment passed, but the sting stayed. Later, when meal service began, Clara approached Evelyn's seat. Her hands were steady, but her mind was in chaos. She leaned slightly, offering a tray. Evelyn didn't look up. "Just put it there," she said. Her tone, it wasn't just rude. It was familiar. The kind of voice that had learned superiority young. shaped by the world's unspoken hierarchies. As Clara stepped back, Evelyn finally lifted her gaze, and for a heartbeat their eyes met. Something flickered. Evelyn's expression faltered, confusion briefly softening her features before arrogance masked it again. But Clara saw it, the flicker of recognition. Hours passed. The cabin dimmed. Most passengers slept. Clara crept, collecting empty trays, adjusting blankets. But her thoughts refused to rest. She replayed that look over and over again. Could it really be her? The abandoned little girl from St. Mary's orphanage, the one who'd been adopted by a wealthy family and disappeared without goodbye? A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Evelyn was calling. Clara approached, cautious. "My charger isn't working," Evelyn said flatly, holding out her phone. "Can you check the port?" Clara bent slightly, inspecting the small metal slot. And then she saw it. A tiny, faded engraving on the phone case, EH04, St. Mary's. Her breath caught. Her fingers trembled. The initials, the orphanage name. It was all there. She straightened slowly, eyes wide. "Ma'am, this phone case, where did you—" Evelyn frowned. "What? Why does it matter?" Clara's voice shook. "Because that boy who made those engravings. He lived with me in the orphanage." Evelyn blinked, startled. "What boy?" But before Clara could speak again, the intercom chimed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain announced, "we'll soon begin our descent. Please prepare for landing." The words hung in the air, but Clara's world had already begun to tilt toward a revelation that would silence an entire cabin. The plane descended through thick clouds, the cabin lights flickering between gold and gray. Passengers fastened their belts, murmuring, unaware of the storm brewing within seat 2A and the aisle beside it. Clara's hands gripped the seat back as she stared at Evelyn's phone. That engraving, it wasn't just a marking, it was a signature. A name she hadn't spoken in 2 decades. Ethan, the boy she had cared for, the one who used to carve initials into everything he touched. She was the favorite child from the orphanage. The boy who had called Evelyn his sister before they were separated. Her voice broke through the hum of the engines. "Sir," she called to the flight marshal standing nearby. "That boy, he lived with me in the orphanage." Heads turned. Murmurs rippled through the cabin. Evelyn froze, her hand tightening on her phone. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, her voice trembling slightly. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You remember him, don't you? Ethan Hart, your brother, the one your family never spoke of again." Evelyn's mask cracked. The arrogance drained from her face, replaced by confusion and fear. How do you know that name?" she whispered. The announcement chimed again. "Welcome to New York. Please remain seated." But no one moved. The air was electric, and then from the front of the cabin, a calm, commanding voice spoke, one that silenced the whispers instantly. "Miss Hart," the attendant said carefully, "your father has arrived at the gate. The owner of the airline requests your presence immediately." Every mocking smile in that cabin faded. Reality was about to land, hard. As the plane taxied to a stop, whispers filled the aisles like wind through tall grass. Every eye darted between Evelyn and Clara, the young woman of privilege and the quiet cleaner who had just pulled back the curtain on a forgotten past. At the gate, Evelyn's father stood waiting, tall, commanding, his tailored suit barely containing the unease in his eyes. When Clara stepped forward, he froze. Recognition flashed, followed by something darker, shame. She didn't need words to understand. Years ago, when he adopted Evelyn, another child, Ethan, had been left behind and lost in the system. Forgotten. Clara had searched for him for years, until the day the orphanage closed and her search became a silent prayer. Now, as Evelyn's father looked away, Clara's heart broke, not for herself, but for the children the world had decided were expendable. Evelyn's lips parted, trembling. "You knew my brother?" she whispered. Clara nodded. "I raised both of you. Until one day you were gone." The weight of truth settled heavily in the air. Evelyn's arrogance melted into grief. She clutched her phone, staring at the engraving, EH04. For the first time, she understood what it meant. Clara walked past her quietly, eyes glistening, her heart both full and shattered. She had spoken her truth. Somewhere she hoped Ethan heard it, because sometimes the greatest injustice isn't what people do, it's who they choose to forget. How many more stories like theirs lie buried beneath silence and pride?